Hi guys, and welcome to a showcase and tutorial for Hardy Planters. Now, this plugin introduces a number of planter boxes into the game, which allow plants to grow without any light, water, fertilizer, in temperature, basically relevant of all conditions. It forces the conditions to be set to a set value and handles the growth timing and logic as well. So it's very configurable. You can configure certain planter boxes to grow faster than others. You can have certain planter boxes care more about the genetics of like the growth genetics of the plant, like of the seeds as well, or the clones. So anyway, let's get into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build just a simple little 2x2 here. Now what happens is when you deploy one of these planter boxes, you'll see I've got a couple of different tiers. That was a tier 1. This is a tier 2. And then this one here is going to be a tier 3. Now, at the moment, they seem seemingly, different. There's 0 water in either of them here. And what I'm going to do just to show you how it all works is I'm going to seal this up so there's no light either. So let's, and then we're going to compare this to a regular planter box. Alright, so let's grab some seeds. We'll do some red berries. So I'm going to plant some red berries in our regular planter box here. You can see here this one is ground is 75, temperature is 100, but everything else is 0. Now as I plant these in this planter box, you can see that they're automatically being set to 150%. This one here should be 100% because it's the tier 2. Or 80, sorry, this is the tier 1. And this is the tier 2 one here, which will be 100%. Now you can see here that they've got so light, water, ground temperature overall are 100%. This one's 80%. This is 150%. This is just simply going to dictate how fast they grow. The higher the quality, the faster the grow. The more progress they obtain through each growth tick. So things like G's and everything else will make them kind of grow faster. You can see some already approaching the seedling stage here. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to planting them. So what we're going to do is while these things plant in the background, we're just going to show you how to obtain these boxes. Now there's a couple of ways to do it. The first way is you can add them to a shop plugin. Alternatively, you can run a command to give players the planter boxes, which is a console command. So give Hardy planter. You can see that's the parameters, so target ID / name, the planter skin ID, or the display name. So if I do give Hardy planter new, we'll just say if you type in the wrong one, it'll give you all of the ones that you can potentially type in. So if I wanted to do, say, small planter box tier 2, oh, apparently there's multiple that's the same. So let's say tier 1. There we go. I've got to rename that to tier 3. So you can see here I've just been given an additional small planter box tier 1. The final option is the ability to add them through crates. So if I spawn a crate normal 2, I've modified the chance to increase to obtain it from the crate. There you go. I've just obtained a large planter box 1. There's a small number 2. That's a small 1. So these are basically assigned on drop weight. So when we have a successful roll to obtain it from the crate, it'll roll. Each of these containers will have a drop weight assigned to them, which will make them either more or less likely to appear. So the higher tier ones are less likely to appear than the lower tier ones. But it's all configurable in the config, which I'll take you through shortly. Yeah, so you can see I'm getting a couple of them now, and they all work as intended. So if I go back into our little base here, you can see, again, nothing's happened with these because, why would it? There's no water, there's no light, nothing. Whereas these ones are, trudging along as per normal. Yes, in the seedling stage. So, we're considering there's no growth, growth genetics attached to most of them. They're done pretty well. The growth genetics can be assigned individually through the config as well. So if you the default modifier for each G in a plant gene is 0.25, which you can adjust to whatever you please. So if you want to make a really fast growing planter box that your players can obtain, you can. Anyway, that is all there is to it in terms of the gameplay mechanic. It's just one of those things that players can have sitting in their base, which, oh no, I ran away from that base. They could be sitting in the base and they'll just exist, and players can kind of just farm them as they need to. Now, if I unload the plugin, I don't unload Hardy Planters. You'll see here that they'll eventually, when the game tick updates. So when they next check in for their the plant tick, it's going to update the information back to what it was, which we'll see in just a sec. There we go. All right, so it's finally updated. So you can see here that they've gone back down to their base conditions. Now, if I load the plugin up again, the plugin will automatically acquire any of the planter boxes that have the skin. As the skin persists from the item onto the entity, and voila, they're all back to growing at an exponential rate. Anyway, let's jump into the configuration side of things and see what that looks like. Okay, so we're in the configuration for Hardy Planters. I'm just going to take you through step by step of what each sort of option does. It is a very simple config, so this won't take too long. Now, the first option we have here is the planter profiles. This is basically what dictates the planter information, such as how often it drops, what the overall quality is, which obviously dictates the speed, the display name of the item that players can obtain, the short name of the item that it's based off of, whether it's a planter large or a planter small, and then the growth gene multiplier. So basically how much the planter box cares about the G gene in in clones and seeds. So an example would be if you wanted each seed to basically count for double, you'd set this to 0.5, which means each growth gene in the genetic makeup of the item would basically contribute and make the growth speed significantly faster than vanilla. The overall quality of the planter box is really important. So 1.0 is basically the vanilla equivalent of a planter box with perfect light, perfect water, fertilizer, and good temperature. So that's just something to think about. And then you can increase this to whatever you like, so 1.5 to 2.5, 10, 50, whatever. It's just simply going to increase the amount of progression each growth cycle is going to give per plant tick, which is every 60 seconds by default. And this works with the plant tick as well. So if you adjust the plant tick rate of your server, the plugin will adjust and work with that. However, if you change the plant tick scale, you'll need to reload the plugin in order to have those changes come into effect. So you can see here you've got different skin IDs for different items. So it's the key value is the skin ID, which you can create your own custom icon and upload it to the Steam Workshop, or you can just simply modify what I've done here. The next one here we have is the loot crates. Now these are the different crates that basically drop. By default, this is actually like 3%. I just changed it to 50 for demonstration purposes. But you can see here, this one is a 15% chance of dropping, and it will drop between 1 and 1 as a maximum in terms of stack. So if you open up an elite crate and you successfully got the drop chance here, it's going to give you 1 box. Whereas if you wanted it to give you a random number between, say, 2 and 5, what it'll do is it'll roll a random number between these values and it'll give you the stack of boxes equal to this quantity. One thing I also forgot to mention up here is the drop weight. So this is a drop weight system which basically adds all of these numbers together, and then does a random range between 0 and the total count, and then basically think of like a Wheel of Fortune type thing. It spins the wheel, and depending on where it lands, it's obviously what it drops on. So the higher the drop weight, the bigger the pie in the wheel. So the higher the chance it has of choosing that particular item. Yeah, and that's really all there is to it, guys. I would like to build on this plugin and make it or introduce new features and make it a bit more advanced. So if you have any feedback, any suggestions, ideas, feel free to hit me up. Otherwise, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy.